one of Papa's dear friends from JNU, Dr. Deepak Banerjee. Deepak uncle, it'd be great to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks, Rahul. Well, my association with Ravi, rather our association, Seema and I, our association with Ravi and Shanti goes back long years, ever since they moved to JNU campus from their SDA Green Park residence, and where they used to live earlier. We got acquainted with each other, and soon we struck a rapport. This was perhaps in the early 1980s. So we grew closer, and over the last 40 years or so, our friendship grew rather seamlessly to a family relationship. Through him, we got to know his mother, his elder brothers, his elder sister, their families, and we felt a part of an extended family, as it were. We attended and participated in many family celebrations. I remember attending Vivek's wedding. I remember attending Ritu's graduation and going to the Swasth Vihar residence many times for many events. And then, of course, Rahul's wedding. So, it was a sort of a family relationship that grew between us. Now, Ravi was a person with a big heart. He had a capacity of endearing himself to others and was always ready to do his bit in any way that he could. As a matter of fact, one of his pet phrases was, "I have offered my services." And this phrase almost paraphrased a facet of his personality. I have heard it from him numerous times on numerous occasions, whether it was just simply taking somebody to an airport or the railway station, to educating some underprivileged children, to helping in some social cause, and so on. Those days, I remember Aurobindo Ashram at Hauj Khas ran a program of imparting some vocational training and educating underprivileged kids. Ravi, along with, of course, Shanti, volunteered to be a part of this initiative. And I recollect that after his JNU classes were over, every evening, every afternoon, Ravi and Shanti would go to Aurobindo Ashram, sometimes carrying some homemade goodies for the kids and teach them at their level. And his association with Aurobindo Ashram and then later with Aurobindo literature developed over the years, and he also tried to make us aware of the many teachings and philosophy of Sri Aurobindo. This offering of services was invaluable to me too on many occasions. Thus, in 3 weddings in my family, those of my brother and my sister and my nephew, Ravi took charge of a variety of tasks, often ferrying himself, my guests and stuff in his Maruti van, and took charge of many details of which I was not aware of myself. So it was not for nothing that we called him boss or lord and obeys his instructions meticulously, because we didn't know half of the things that he would make us aware of on some social occasions. And Ravi was a great fan or a great enthusiast for social bonding and had a knack for getting people together. One fine morning, he suggested that we ought to bring in some physical activity in our sedentary lifestyles. And that was the beginning of our badminton club, which Sonki just mentioned, where we ourselves, he enthused a few of us to become avid badminton players. We ourselves prepared a court in the residential quadrangle, where in front of 40 Dakshinapuram, and every evening we had a round of badminton. And it was not only a round of badminton, but it was a sort of a relaxation and a bit of social bonding. Then one day he came up with another bright idea to get us together. He suggested that our families and kids should also meet more often. So why don't we all meet once in a while and share a meal together? That we got, then that, thus we got started on our potluck dinners. Each family would bring some food and we would have a wonderful evening of a veritable feast, delightful conversation and bonhomie. Later on, in the same vein, he undertook another initiative. The idea was to have a cultural goshti periodically, where we would have, or we would invite some artist or some author and have a sort of a baitak with them. Well, thanks to his efforts, it got going, and we had a couple of wonderful sessions. I recollect on one such occasion, the celebrated singer Vidya Rao was there, and he was also toying with the idea of inviting Khushwant Singh for one of those sessions, because he was not only a fan of Khushwant Singh's writings, but he said that he was a great historian because he had written authoritative volumes on Sikh history. So, he was really in for such cultural activities, and this also brought him in touch with Professor Kiran Seth of IIT Delhi. Now he had initiated, Professor Seth had initiated an activity called Speak Mackay, Society for the Promotion of Indian Culture and Music amongst Youth. And the idea was to familiarize the young students in our educational institutions for towards Indian music and culture. And so they would have eminent artists, authors who would come to these institutions for what they call lecture demonstrations. So Ravi again offered his services, got in touch with Kiran Seth, volunteered to work with him and his group, and initiated efforts to bring Speak Mackay to JNU, which ultimately happened. So, he had a multifaceted personality, and I can go on recounting delightful anecdotes and many incidents from my memory. Those days, Ravi had a scooter, a light green, if I remember correctly, a light green Vespa. And once a month, he would take me along for a grocery shopping to Sadar Bazaar and Khadi Bahuli because he was convinced that these were the places for getting quality groceries. So, there was a Russian language institute at Connaught Circus where Ravi was an office bearer. So we would go on a scooter first to that Connaught Circus Institute, where he would, tend to attend some of his pending paperwork while I leafed through some magazines and books and so on. Then the scooter would be parked there. We would hop across the road to the Thompson Road Tonga stand, because those days there was a shuttle Tonga service between Thompson Road and Sadar Bazaar. So we would have a small clickety-clack Tonga ride to Sadar Bazaar and do our shopping. And, and he had a favorite quaint little shop owned by an elderly gentleman where he would have his groceries. And this gentleman would scribble his orders and prepare the bill in Urdu. So once I asked him, Ravi, do you understand what this gentleman writes? And, so he says, no, I know a bit of Urdu, but doesn't matter. Even if I don't know, by the demeanor of this person, I know that he is going to give me the right stuff at the right price. So how does it matter? So, that was a sort of a thing that, he had an implicit faith in people, and he knew people from, from their, so to say, the personality. Of course, and then our shopping spree would be punctuated with a round of chole bhature at Nandu Di Hatti, and then back to the Tonga, back to the scooter, and way back home. Now, talking about this Vespa scooter, another incident comes to my mind, which I can't help but recounting. Once Ravi and Shanti were going somewhere on their scooter, where the grand old Vespa stalled in the middle of the road, and this was Racecourse Road, which was a VIP area. So this was a hot afternoon. So while Shanti waited under a tree, Ravi somehow tried to tinker with the scooter to get it going. Now, this being a VIP area, suddenly two cops came and said, "Ye scooter yahan se hataiye." So Ravi tried to explain that, look, this is what has happened, and I'm trying to get it going. And so they waited for, I think, 5-10 minutes, and came again, and they said, "Scooter hataiye." So now Ravi stood straight, all 6 feet plus of him, and dared the cops to, arrest him if tending to a stalled scooter on a public road was any violation of law. So I don't know whether the cops got flummoxed and, got him a mechanic, summoned a mechanic for him, or the good old Vespa, out of sheer respect for his Malik, sprang to life itself. But Ravi and Shanti were on their way back home. Now, these are some delightful anecdotes that I still sort of have embedded in my memory. And then I remember the sheer delight and joy when Rahul presented him a car out of his first earnings. Now, those were the days when we were driving our tiny Maruti 800s and thought that that was a big deal. And here, was a gleaming maroon-colored Ford Icon standing at his door, a gift from his son, out of his first earnings. He was so happy and excited. He was happy like a child. He took me for a spin in his newly acquired gift and explained in great detail all the features that car had. So, his personality was many-faceted. Sometimes he would be very serious. Sometimes he would be full of glee like a child. And it was really wonderful to be in company with him. I can go down my memory lane and keep on reminiscing about Ravi. He was a multifaceted person, as I had said. He had strong opinions and convictions. both in his personal life as also in his professional career. Being a historian, he observed and also made us look at contemporary events with that perspective of what has been and what could be. Sometimes we got, as Ritu just mentioned, we got into interesting discussions, sometimes animated arguments, counter arguments. More often than not, we agreed to disagree, but it was always in good faith and always without rancor. He was a good listener for your arguments, and he expected others also to listen to his arguments. Well, Ravi has been ailing for a long time, but he faced all his health problems with fortitude and was positive till the end. Well, I could go on fetching snippets from my memory, but only say that Ravi, we remember you fondly and cherish the good times we had with you. Wherever you are, stay blessed and rest in peace.
Deepak uncle, what does one say after this? You have recounted a lifetime of memories.